Welcome, Jody, an award-winning entrepreneur and change maker. It's so good to see you.
Great to see you.
So for those of us that don't know, let's talk about the Bargains Group.
Well, the Bargains Group is a company that I founded 37 years ago. And my background is actually fashion, business, and marketing. And 37 years ago, there really wasn't a discount world out there. For those of you who remember the amazing brands like Bargain Heralds, Byway, Honest Eds, some incredible entrepreneurs, those were my people. And that's where we started. We then graduated into helping prisons and correctional facilities because when I was pregnant with my firstborn, I got very sick and almost died. And decided I needed some recurring revenue. And I figured there's always going to be prisons and correctional facilities, and they like bargains and basics, and I still supply those today. But we really pivoted about 27 years ago into helping the not-for-profit sector, which is really my passion. Homeless shelters, disaster relief, any kind of organization that has need, or any kind of donor group that wants to help. We don't want people buying retail. And this way we can make the money go much further. So our largest sector across Canada, Bargains Group, is the go-to for charities, not-for-profits, and anybody who are looking to find those basic necessities of life at substantially reduced prices.
Okay. So give me an example, just so our viewers would understand Bargains,
Sure.
just about Bargains Group at the moment. What type of items you might sell. And because the point I'm trying to get at is, if I'm right, 1988, you started this business and from a small apartment, and then you grew it into a multi-million-dollar business. So you did this.
So we have warehouses. We're on Caledonia Road, are our main warehouses. We have several. And basically, they're just warehouses filled with cases. So we actually have inventory, which was quite rare in Canada. So if you think about, God forbid, the basic necessities of life, underwear, socks, in the wintertime, gloves, mitts, toques, hats, winter boots, anything that would go on your body, if all of a sudden you had to flee for whatever reason and had nothing, that's what main items. And then you think about hygiene products. We're very, very large in hygiene products, because when you think of, again, not having anything, we do everything from the small travel size, which are a real rarity these days because hotels are all going into these full-size environmental. But if you're living in an encampment or in a shelter, you only have one bag of your belongings. So these travel size are very, very important. Bedding, linen, blankets, pillows, sleeping bags. Those are the basics. And then we also have a division that does custom logoed swag and promotional products too.
Okay, incredible. So what was the key to making that story a success, this business in particular?
I think really I've always said, just love what you do, and I love a bargain. I love connecting people, that whether it be a store or a homeless shelter or a donor, I love maximizing and making everybody happy. That's who I am. I also recognize that it's not glamorous. I was in the fashion business. I sold stores like Holt Renfrew, and I worked in New York at Guess Jeans and places like that. It was very glamorous and exciting, but I like the action. When I learned on the other side that I could sell, a dozen underwear for $6, like that excited me, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of satisfaction in that, and especially who your clientele you're going to support.
And
it's rewarding.
If you know me, I have no attention span, so it matches perfectly. And every phone call or email I get, that I'm able to help everybody, and that's just a really great feeling. I don't sell anything. That's what I also say. I'm in the helping business. I'm not in the sales business.
So where did your passion for, which you have a lot of, for business and leadership come from?
I don't know. I always just liked to be first in class of whatever I did. And I found this niche that it didn't exist. And I realized that it was really needed. When I was in the fashion business, not far from here on Queen Street, one day a homeless person grabbed my ankle. I was getting into the car and scared the crap out of me. And he said, please, ma'am, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just really hungry. Yeah. And that was kind of the impetus into me understanding that I became friends with this guy. I started to bring him food and learning his story. And he was just like you or me with really, really bad luck. And that's where I got the passion for saying, hey, we have to look at people who aren't looking like us in a different light. And that's where I started to recognize that the simplest things like buying someone a coffee or even looking them in the eyes of saying hello made them feel so good. And in turn, that made me feel really good.
So I know our audience is very interested to know about your charity, Engage and Change. Let's talk about that.
So if you recall, about 26, 27 years ago, a homeless man died in a bus shelter right by the Eden Center. And it was that snowstorm where the mayor was calling the army in.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
With Mayor Lastman at the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was running for the mayor. And I was so, I had just started to learn about the homeless and the problems we had in this city and got very, very involved. And that was back when Avram Rosenzweig started Via Hafta. And it was, you know, like one very little micro bit of help that they were bridging the Jewish community with the indigenous community. And I was really upset when I heard that this person died. So I reached out to the downtown shelters and said, why did this happen? There's so much money here. How can we prevent this? I'm a fixer. And they told me that if he had a sleeping bag, he would be alive. So I said, a sleeping bag? That will save a life?
Yeah.
I can do that. So I reached out to about 20 different entrepreneurial leaders in the city. And I said, we have a problem and I have a solution. You know me. I also reached out to about 10 shelters and outreach vans and said, what do you need until March 31st? Because the budgets and not-for-profits change on April 1st. So what do you need so nobody dies? And quantify that. I'm a business person. So they all gave me the list. They gave me everything. And I reached out to the community and said, I need $200 from everybody. And I need you at my warehouse for 2 hours. Don't ask questions, trust me. And then I invited in, because I'm very big on education, a social worker, a harm reduction worker, a street worker. We used to call them homeless people. We now refer to them as an unhoused person. And someone who had success in getting off the streets. And I said, I want you to come here. I want you to tell your stories that we're not hearing in the media. I want it raw. No names, nothing. But these people need to know what's really going on in our city because they have the power collectively to make change. So we had about a 20-minute conversation. It was mind-opening. These people were like, wow. We then packed all the kits of what they needed and we invited the 10 charities and not-for-profits and we loaded up the vehicles, okay? The entire experience, and I say experience, was 1 hour and 37 minutes. Wow. I'm a business person. I know that if I can engage these people to help these people in a tight timeline, it's a winning formula. Absolutely. And that's what happened. And every one of them stood around after and said, that was the most impactful, charitable thing I have ever done. I will never do another golf tournament, gala, build a bike, paint a wall, put beans in a box. And no disrespect to all those wonderful causes, but they said, that's what I want to do, and I want to do that with all of my employees, and can I bring my family?
I actually have shivers because I feel that is such a way to connect and help with hands-on.
I call it active philanthropy. So at the end, they said, we want to do it again. And I went like, oh, okay, well, this was Jody's love project. I guess we're doing it again. And we named it Project Winter Survival. And the banks, all these companies wanted to be part of this. And I was thrilled because we were helping. So we had all the charities starting to apply for these free kits. And then we found out that more people die in Toronto and in Canada in the summer months than they do in the winter from dehydration.
Interesting.
Which I was shocked about, and most people are. So we started a second project called Project Water. And to give you an idea of scope and scale, we became a charity. I'm going to say over a decade ago, only because the donors said, we've heard about this, we've seen it on the news, we want to contribute to make more kits for you because it's sprawled throughout Ontario, but we need a tax receipt. So we became a registered charity, Engage in Change, because of that. But we have no employees, barely any overhead, so it's really still grassroots. And this January, we sadly, and I say sadly because I don't want to be doing this, we celebrated our 26th annual Project Winter Survival, and we just built and distributed in under 5 hours approximately $1 million worth of Project Winter Survival kits to about 161 shelters, outreach, drop-ins, and now encampments.
Yeah. I want to talk about your social enterprise, Kits for a Cause. This ties directly into the homeless, or we have a new word now. It's called...
It's a social enterprise. And what happened there was we've been doing these amazing projects, and the way people want to contribute and do tzedakah and give has changed. Donors are starting to say, I want to do something. I don't want to just write a check. And I never understood that because I always technically sold an experience for my charity. I didn't write grant proposals and send mailers out.
Right.
I basically said, if I provide you an incredible experience, would you pay to have that? And that's what I've always been doing. So fast forward, I was just about 2 decades ahead of most charities. About 8 or 9 years ago, there was a conference in Western Canada, and it was all about social impact. And it brought together all of these corporations, and it was talking about the new way of philanthropy and employee engagement and getting people really active and volunteering. Well, here's what happened. All of a sudden, out of this conference, all these incredible companies called charities everywhere in Canada and said, we have teams, we've got 200 people, we're KPMG, we're Deloitte, we're the bank, we've got 300, 400 people. Either the charities never got back to them because they're so underserved, or they said, we have nothing for these kinds of numbers of people, we're running a charity. And then they said, well, what do we do? Call Jody. So we tracked this, over 500 companies. We stopped counting at 500, and we ripped off Match.com. But we borrowed from Match.com and the charity, and we called it Kits for a Cause. And I have to tell you, it has exploded. Just this week, we were selected by the Gates Foundation to look after all their engagement volunteer events across North America.
Wow.
Last week we got awarded, Amazon asked us if we could take care of all of the United States, all of Canada, and can we start going into other countries, just with our model, which engages groups of volunteers to pick a cause, any cause, cancer, homelessness, mental health. There's so many sad causes, and build kits that the charities need, but be educated during their event about what these wonderful organizations do.
Jody, I know from personal experience, and I'm sure viewers might relate, I actually went out on a media call, and I saw the groups of people packaging and so committed to doing this for I guess at that time it was the winter. It was like a really bad winter day, right. And they were going out to the homeless and, delivering these kits for a cause. So in that particular case, but I just wanted to ask you, what drives you in particular to, go out and be community minded yourself and, engage directly with these type of people that are homeless at the moment, but being out there, like I remember at one time too, I can't remember the circumstance, but you had said to me that you brought your children out with you as well. Maybe it was out of the cold and you really wanted to, educate people, and you experienced it yourself. You're not just do this, you're all encompassed.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
I have to say there's definitely boundaries that people generally aren't aware of. And there's places when you're doing things like this that it's acceptable for you to do things, and there's places where you shouldn't. We all have expertise. So when I run my charity, Engage in Change, I usually, in the afternoon, I do outreach with the media, because the media is very important to tell the stories, right? And the stories aren't told very well. So I have taken different ones, my children's with me. I will tell you, please don't ever just kind of make little kits and go out with your family on the street and pass them out. It's not safe right now. 25 years ago, the challenges in homelessness were somebody with a bag of hooch on the street or smoking marijuana. It's not like that now. It's very, very dangerous. And even myself, who's an expert in this area, I will never go out with dedicated frontline street outreach workers, and they won't let me go out, right?
Oh, so you don't do that now?
So during the charity, our model at Engage and Change is to provide all of the service providers these kits because they don't have money anymore. It's so bad. And these social workers, they go out in their communities and hand these kits out. But I go out the day of the event with the media to talk about how does this work. And we always come downtown. We come outside on the corner where, if you know where Street Health is in Margaret's, and we literally get swarmed. Swarmed.
Yeah.
And I have to have a police officer with me. I have to have
by these group of people.
Yeah, because they're so grateful.
Yeah.
And to imagine a sleeping bag and a backpack filled with the basic necessities of life are that important to them. 2 years ago, I had somebody pull a knife, and I had to have these people put a knife. So I've seen a lot of circumstances. So please, although you probably are thinking, well, I just want to do that in my local neighborhood. If you want to do it, but bring it to a local shelter or out of the cold or wherever you are. They desperately need the supplies. And if you want to go, ask them if you could go along. Via HAFTA has an incredible van program where you can sign up and go on the van, but you're with experts.
So Jody, where can our viewers help get involved with your charitable, your charities and your social enterprises and the Bargains Group?
Well, if they're looking for a place to donate money, by all means. My charity, engageandchange.org, desperately needs money because we run just on donations. If they have product, anybody who has product sitting in a warehouse or knows of companies that want to get rid of product, we have a list. We only take brand new product. And if they want to sponsor or bring out a team or a family, but by using a financial contribution, by all means. Now, if they want to do their own event and they want to do their own kit packing event for any charity or cause of their choice, visit kitsforacause.com. Thousands of charities are in need. Or if you don't see a charity and you want to help out, for example, there's local charities in every major city across the country. And what better way? We're seeing a lot of grandparents wanting to do legacy events.
Yeah.
And, our children need to learn empathy. They're not learning it in the school.
So what advice do you have for people in the community or who are volunteering who want to fight anti-Semitism?
Well, I think everybody has their different way that they can get the messaging across. And I think the biggest thing that I see about anti-Semitism is the lack of information. So what I like to say is wherever there's an opportunity to have a respectful conversation with someone who may be not understanding and not Jewish, bring it into the conversation. It's really, really important to talk about why people are doing what they're doing, because in most cases they're just so uninformed. So the way I usually try and say to people is talk about it and amplify wherever you can. I did a speech a few weeks ago. I was on stage. I brought it into one of my comments and said, hey, I'm Jewish and I don't look any different than you are. So treat me the same way.
Because you're identifying and you're being proud.
Yeah, and in right after October 7th, I was on stage and I said to everybody, I'm not having a good day right now. And I want everyone to know that in front of 1,500 people. And I said, I want you to turn next to your neighbor and give them a hug. So what I think about anti-Semitism is we just need to hopefully inform those in a little bit of an assertive way that maybe wouldn't be learning if we didn't bring it to them. And I can tell you, I have many people around me that are not Jewish, and they are absolutely shocked when I talk to them or share a video or share what's going on from a medium they would not have seen. And then they ask for more, and then they, spread it amongst the communities. And I think really, for me, that's the best way, is have these conversations with people that necessarily would not be connecting or hearing these messages.
Well, Jody, thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do. You're a true example of someone leading with passion, purpose, and kindness.
Thank you.